the Suburban Sideshow podcast. I'm your host, Gamble the Clown. This episode is called The Shadow in the Cypress, examining the Florida skunk ape. Now, to set the stage, close your eyes for a second. Imagine you're standing deep in the big Cypress National Preserve. It's 3 p.m. in July. The air isn't just air anymore, it's a thick, wet blanket that smells like crushed ferns and stagnant water. The humidity is sitting at about 98% and your shirt is glued to your back. Sounds a lot like North Carolina, but it's not. Now everything is silent except for the occasional skronk of a heron. Then the wind shifts. Suddenly, you aren't smelling the lilies anymore. It's something else. It's the smell of a dumpster fire in a swamp, rotten eggs, wet dog, and methane all together. You hear a heavy thud in the muck behind a stand of sawgrass. Something big is moving, something that doesn't want to be found. Now, we're not talking about alligators or large pythons. First, let's scare you about the pythons that are running loose in the Everglades. The Everglades National Park is one of the most unique ecosystems, but it's currently the site of a quiet, slithering invasion. The Burmese python has gone from a few escaped pets in the 1970s to the region's most dominant apex predator. Here is a breakdown of the startling statistics that define the Python War in 2026. One of the most difficult parts of managing pythons is that they are nearly invisible. Experts estimate that we only ever see about 1% of the total population due to their incredible camouflage and the inaccessible terrain of the marshes. Now, keep these statistics in mind when we talk about the 1%. The USGS notes tens of thousands. Some population models suggest there could be between 100,000 and 500,000 pythons currently in South Florida. The reproductive power of pythons is amazing. A single female can lay 50 to 100 eggs at a time. This high fecundity means that the population can theoretically double every few years if left unchecked. The most heartbreaking statistics aren't about the snakes, but the animals they eat. In areas where pythons have been established the longest, the decline is native mammals is staggering. Raccoons, for example, the population is down by 99.3%. Possums, population down by 98.9%. Bobcats, population down by 87.5%. Rabbits and foxes, effectively exterminated, locally extinct for many parts of the Everglades. Now keep all of this food in mind when we discover the skunk ape. Pythons aren't just eating small critters. They have been documented consuming full-grown white-tailed deer and even battling adult alligators. Pythons battling adult alligators. Florida isn't going down without a fight, however. Through state-sponsored programs, the annual Python Challenge, I'm not talking about lifting pythons, removal numbers are hitting record highs. The calculation of the total removed since 2000, more than 23,000 pythons have been reported as removed from the wild. We've had a lot of contractor success in the area. FWC and South Florida Water Management District contractors have removed over 16,000 pythons since 2017. The 2025 Python Challenge last year, record-breaking, where 934 participants from 30 states removed 294 pythons in just 10 days. The Conservancy of Southwest Florida recently surpassed a 20-ton milestone, having removed over 40,000 pounds of snake from a single 200 square mile area. Today we're trekking into the heart of the Sunshine State to hunt for a legend that's been haunting the Everglades for centuries. And we're not talking about pythons, we're talking about the Florida skunk ape. Now, before we pack our gear and weapons and head out, I must warn you about Florida House Bill 58. This is the bill that protects the Florida skunk ape. Yes, my friends, the government has given validity to its existence, so let's operate from a position of belief, shall we? Now, for those of you outside the Southeast, you might be thinking, oh, so it's just a Bigfoot in a Hawaiian shirt. Well, not exactly. While the skunk ape is a cousin to the Pacific Northwest Sasquatch, he's got his own distinct Florida man energy. Generally described as standing between 5 and 7 feet tall, the skunk ape is shorter than your average Bigfoot. He's covered in long, reddish brown, or rusty hair. Think of an orangutan that's had a very bad day. Please do yourself a favor and Google Florida man. Very interesting to get into. Now, let's get back to the real skunk ape. But the defining characteristic, the thing that gives this cryptid its name, is the stench. Witnesses claim the smell is so foul, it can make your eyes water or trigger a gag reflex. This isn't just animal musk, it's a biological chemical weapon. Some researchers think the smell comes from the creature living in alligator dens or wallowing in swamp gas and peat moss, which then ferments in that brutal Florida heat. Here's a quick fact. In the world of cryptozoology, the skunk ape is often categorized as a large hominid, but locals call him the swamp cabbage man or the stinker. Definitely smells worse than middle school boys on Axe. The legend isn't some modern internet creepypasta. The indigenous Miccosukee and Seminole tribes have stories of a tall man or a brother of the woods that dates back generations. They have always coexisted with the idea that something else lives in the deep sawgrass. The Seminole tribe has always been a very interesting tribe to study. The Seminole tribe has a rich and resilient history, primarily centered in the southeast United States. Their story is one of adaptation, resistance, and cultural preservation. First, origins as a new people. The Seminole are not a single ancestral group, but rather a confederation of various Native American groups, primarily the Muskogee Creek, who moved into Florida in the 1700s. The name Seminole is derived from the Spanish word Cimarron, meaning wild one or runaway. Second, the unconquered people. The Seminole are famously known as the unconquered people. They are the only Native American tribe that has never signed a formal peace treaty with the United States government during the era of the Indian Removal Act. Very interesting and very tough. Third, we should consider resistance and warfare. Between 1817 and 1858, the tribe fought 3 major wars against the U.S. Army. The Second Seminole War, from 1835 to 1842, was the most expensive and longest Indian war in United States history, costing the U.S. government roughly $20 million at the time. Fourth, they integrated well with the Black Seminoles. The tribe was known for providing refuge to escaped enslaved people. These individuals, known as Black Seminoles, lived in their own villages but fought alongside Seminole as fierce allies, translators, and cultural bridges. Fifth, let's look at the unique architecture. The Chickie, to adapt to the wet, marshy environment of the Everglades, the Seminole developed the Chickie. These are open-air structures built on stilts with raised wooden platforms and thatched roofs made of palmetto leaves. This design allowed for airflow and kept inhabitants away from floodwaters and wildlife. Now let's look at the matrilineal social culture. The Seminole culture is traditional matrilineal, meaning that family lines, clan names, and inheritance are passed down through the mother. There are 8 remaining clans today: panther, otter, deer, bear, bird, big cypress, wind, and snake. The symbolism of the colorful patchwork they make. Traditional Seminole clothing is famous for its intricate, vibrant patchwork. This style evolved in the early 1900s when sewing machines became available. The patterns often represent historical events, nature, or tribal legends, like the skunk ape. And they are undisputed masters of the Everglades. When forced deep into the Florida Everglades during wars, the Seminole became experts at navigating the river of grass using Cypress dugout canoes. They survived on a diet of fish, corn, and the heart of palm, or swamp cabbage. The sovereignty and economic innovation is also impressive. In 1979, the Seminole Tribe of Florida opened the first high-stakes bingo hall on a reservation, paving the legal way for modern Native American gaming. Today, they are a global business owners, and most notably, acquiring the Hard Rock International in 2007. The modern government is also interesting as well. Today, the Seminole Tribe of Florida is a federally recognized sovereign nation with its own constitution and elected tribal council. They manage their own schools, police departments, and health clinics, maintaining a balance between modern industry and ancient traditions. Now, sorry for the little history lesson there, but they've been there the longest, and they are the undisputed masters of resisting government and living alongside the skunk ape. Not only that, but if you're thinking they've created the skunk ape legend to scare away invaders, you're sorely mistaken. The skunk ape really hit the mainstream in the 1960s and 70s. In 1974, a man named Richard Smith claimed to have seen a 7-foot tall creature on the side of the road in Dade County. That same year, the skunk ape bill was actually introduced into the Florida state legislature to make it illegal to hunt or poach the creature. It didn't pass, unfortunately, so the skunk ape remains legally unprotected, if you catch my drift. The most famous piece of evidence, though, that would be the Mayaka skunk ape photographs. Very, very interesting. Going back to 2000. In 2000, an anonymous woman sent 2 photos of the Sarasota County Sheriff's Department to the Sarasota County Sheriff's Department. She claimed she took them in her backyard. The photos show a dark, shaggy, ape-like face peeking out from behind some palm fronds. Its eyes are glowing with a weird yellowish eye shine, and it has these terrifying, blunt teeth. Skeptics say it's an escaped orangutan or a guy in a suit. But if you look at those photos at 2 a.m., man, let me tell you, those eyes look real. They look hungry. All right, let's put on our skeptic hats for a second. Play the devil's advocate. Could a large primate actually survive in Florida without us catching one? Florida is the most populous state in the U.S., but here's the thing. People forget how empty the middle of the state is. Between the Everglades and the Big Cypress, you have millions of acres of impenetrable swamp. First, let's consider the food source. There's plenty of it. Wild hogs, deer, alligator eggs, and swamp cabbage, the heart of the sable palm. A large omnivore would have a buffet. Second, let's discuss the escaped ape theory. Florida has a long history of private zoos and exotic pet owners. During hurricanes, which they have a lot, enclosures often break. Now, we know for a fact that there are colonies of rhesus macaws living in the Silver Springs area. Is the skunk ape just a descendant of the escaped circus ape from the 1930s? No. Third, let's remember the methane factor. Some suggest that the sightings are actually hallucinations caused by breathing in pockets of swamp gas. High concentrations of methane and hydrogen sulfide can cause lightheadedness, and even visual distortions. That is what they try to tell you when people see UFOs. It's just swamp gas. But talk to the hunters. Talk to the guys who spend their lives in airboats. They'll tell you that hogs don't scream the way this thing screams. They'll tell you that a bear doesn't walk on two legs for half a mile through the mud. Again, is it just swamp gas? Hallucinating? No. Beyond the biology, the skunk ape has become a Florida icon. In Okeechobee, Florida, you can visit the official skunk ape headquarters run by Dave Shealy. Dave has been the creature's primary ambassador for decades. He's got the cast of footprints, the grainy videos, and the gift shop to prove it. So, what do you think? There's something beautiful about the skunk ape. In a world where every square inch of the planet is mapped by Google Earth, the skunk ape represents the unknown. It's the reminder that wilderness still has secrets. It's the personification of the swamp. Wild, smelly, dangerous, and fiercely independent. If you're ever driving down the Tamiami Trail at night, keep your windows rolled down just an inch. If the air suddenly turns sour, if you smell something like a wet rug dipped in sulfur, don't stop to take a picture. Just keep driving. Because in the Everglades, you aren't always at the top of the food chain. Thank you for joining me on today's deep dive into the legend of the Florida skunk ape. Whether he's a misidentified black bear, an escaped orangutan, or a prehistoric relic surviving in the mangroves, one thing is certain: he's not going away anytime soon. As long as there are dark corners of the swamp where the sun doesn't hit the ground, the skunk ape will be there, watching from the shadows. Thanks for listening to The Shadow in the Cypress, examining the Florida skunk ape. If you've ever had an encounter with something you couldn't explain in the woods, reach out to me on social media. I want to hear your story, especially the smelly ones. I'm Gamble the Clown. And remember, stay curious, stay observant, and for heaven's sake, stay upwind. This has been the Suburban Sideshow Podcast. We'll catch you next time.